I'm Bree.
And I'm Hannah.
We met through our shared obsession with romance and fantasy novels.
And honestly, we haven't stopped talking about books since.
Each week, we're sharing what we're reading, sharing our opinions,
and spilling all the tea about our lives.
So whether you're here for book recs, hot takes, or you just want to hang out with us for a bit,
you're in the right place. We're also talking about life, sharing our highs and lows,
and having the kind of conversations we'd have over margaritas.
Welcome to Chapter Chats.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Chapter Chats. Hope you're all doing well.
Welcome back, guys. We're excited to be back here for another episode.
Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different with, well, we called it a March Madness bracket, but I think it'll make more sense once we get into it. But basically, we'll just be talking about some upcoming releases, which we're pretty excited about.
But we're doing it in a bracket similar to March Madness basketball brackets, if you are a sports fan like I am. If you're not, just like a regular bracket, I guess.
I was going to say, if you're not, I'm here too, so you're in good company.
But before we dive into those, let's do our highs and lows. My high of the week is that the week that we're recording this, I am going to surprise my friend who lives back in the hometown I grew up in Kentucky. She is pregnant with a baby girl, and this weekend is her baby shower, so I'm driving down there, and she has no idea I'm coming, so I'm really excited. We've been friends literally since we were born. Her dad was like my dad's basically brother, so we've grown up together. I'm super excited to go and surprise her.
That'll be fun. And you're driving. How long is it?
It's like, well, technically, I think it's almost 9 hours, but if I'm driving, I can get there in 8.
I mean, that's not horribly increased, I guess, but...
No, it's all through, like, the back roads of, like, Missouri and stuff, and so there's not a lot of cops. For legal reasons, that's a joke, if anyone that I work with listens to this, but...
Do you want to jump straight into your low, or do you... Yeah, why don't you do your low, because my high and low are the same thing.
And my low is just financial stress, which, signs of a good thing, because I've been planning a lot of trips, but because of that, I've really drained some of my savings and my just regular checking, and so the stress is my own doing, and it's for good things, but it's still financial stress.
And you only get paid once a month, right? Rather than getting it, spread. So, not that you get paid less, but it must be a little bit like, ooh, we're getting towards the end of the month, and...
Yes. And I think, I've only ever worked a job where I got paid once a month, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. And it's really good for budgeting, because I just pay all my bills on, literally the first of the month. And usually I'm fine. It's just this month I, did a few more shopping trips than I needed to at Sephora. And then I paid for a bunch of plane tickets and stuff. So both of those are things that are easily curable if I don't do them. But
no one twisted your arm? Yeah. I get that. Yeah. I've had jobs where I get paid twice a month and jobs where I get paid bi-weekly. And I like bi-weekly because then I budget for getting 2 paychecks a month, and there's always at least 2 months in the year where there's 3 pay periods. So then it feels like you get a free paycheck. I've never had a once a month though. That would be interesting. Yes, I see what you mean. It's nice. It would be nice to be able to do everything all at the same time. Because we kind of have our, rent paycheck and then our, everything else paycheck.
Yeah, I feel like if I had done bi-weekly or twice a month, I'd probably feel different because I would have budgeted around getting paid twice a month. But because of this, I literally, all of my bills, I pay the first of the month. And then I'm like, okay, I have X and O amount of dollars for the rest of the month. This is what I need for, groceries or whatever. And then this is my, discretionary fund. So I obviously, I don't know if I've talked about here, but I have with Hannah, I am a control freak. And so I like having a set, this is what you have for the next 3 weeks. Do what you will.
I feel like maybe they could have figured it out, even if you didn't say.
I don't really hide it that well.
I have a kind of high that's also a low, which I talked about this a little bit on our last episode, but I'm leaving for Mexico. We're going with my in-laws and my husband's side of the family, step-siblings, all that. And I'm very excited for it, but it's very much winter here, and we're going to Cabo. I had a panic of I don't have swimsuits or sundresses or which is not true, because it's not I'm, shopping things that are in season always, and I had plenty last year. But anyway, so I spent a bunch of money getting swimsuits, dresses, tank tops, stuff that's cute, just from Amazon. It's not like it cost a bunch, but I am also getting better at returning things because I figured out that I can just drop stuff off at the Whole Foods by my house rather than having to ship it myself.
It's my favorite thing.
When I hate doing that, but I can easily just add that onto my husband's list of stuff to do when he runs errands. So I kind of like over ordered and spent a lot of money, which is the low part of it, but kind of with the intention of like, I'll probably return at least like a third of this, if not more than that, just to, make sure things are the right size. Because I used to buy so much from Amazon that like wouldn't be exactly right, but I didn't want to like make the effort to return it. And I feel like that was a large help for me in the financial department. So try not to do that. But
I feel like definitely I understand the whole like, hold on, there's a bug. I got it. There's a bug on my closet door, and I was like, I can see it. I know how you feel like, because even though you have like other swimsuits or summer clothes from like the summer, obviously, I have been buying stuff for Hawaii, and I'm like, I don't need a new swimsuit, but I'm going to Hawaii. Like, I want a Hawaii swimsuit. Like, you want a new swimsuit for Mexico. I feel like it's a girl thing.
Yeah, and I would like to get to the place someday where I spend a lot of money on really, like, quality things that last a long time, but I'm just not in that spot at the moment, and so I have, like, I would say, like, 2 good swimsuits that I enjoy, like, wearing while I swim and while I'm just, like, out in the sun or whatever. I have more than that, but I have, like, 2 main ones, and so I'm like, I want to bring more than just 2 because I'm there for a week, and one of them's always going to be wet probably, so I'd rather have more, so I'm not just like, anyway. It's a whole thing. And my mother-in-law's paying for everything, so kind of whatever she wants to do, I'm like, sure. But she wants to do family pictures, and she has like a theme where she wants like white and denim and khaki, and I'm like, couldn't pay me to wear khaki anything. So then I'm like, I need white, and I don't know if I've talked about this. I probably have. But I, like, got my one white dress that I have is the one that I got married in at our courthouse. And I'm like, I don't know that I want to, like, bring that with me to Mexico. Yeah, exactly. Which, it's not, it's very much, like, elevated sundress is how I would describe it. So I got, like, 3 options of white dresses. I'm only going to keep one because I only need one. But I'm like, we're now getting so close to leaving, and it'll be, like, a week from today. So I don't want to, like, I don't know, order one, have myself hate it, and not have time to like get other options. So anyway, that was a really long-winded explanation to say vacation shopping, but that's the high and the low. And then I have to try everything on, which is like fun if things fit, but like really not fun if they don't. So yeah, anyway, want to tell us about your recent read?
Yeah, so I think I talked about this in the last episode that I'm doing a Lent challenge, and although this episode is coming close to the end of Lent, or at least like 2 weeks out from the end of Lent, this is being recorded only a week into Lent, and so I'm fully into my non-secular reading challenge, and one of the books I read this week was Lulu's Cafe by T.I. Lowe, and I absolutely loved it. It was such a stunning book. It's a Christian fiction romance book, and basically it's about this girl who grew up in the foster system. She becomes a Vegas showgirl. I just bunched my knife. She becomes a Vegas showgirl.
What's bunching your Nike?
I punched it with my finger, with my nail.
I see.
She becomes a Vegas showgirl. Let me say it for the 17th time.
A what?
She becomes a Vegas showgirl, and then she meets this guy who promises to, like, give her a family and love her. She gets married to him, they move away, he ends up being a very abusive husband, he finds out that she's pregnant, and he basically tries to take her life and the baby's life, and so she escapes from him and is, like, on a cross-country journey to, like, get away and find a new life, and she just meets several people along the way who, like, share the gospel with her and show her God, and she ends up in this southern town with a really, like, stereotypical southern grandma figure named LuLu, who owns the cafe, Lulu's Cafe. And she really just like takes our FMC in and gives her steadiness and love and shows her the gospel, and they connect over faith. And a guy who is kind of like Lulu's like adopted grandson at first like doesn't like our FMC because he's like, who is this girl? Is she coming to take advantage? They end up falling in love, and just like the threads of faith throughout the book were so good. Lulu reminded me so much of my grandmother. Just like the like stereotypical southern Christian grandma. Like it just, I laughed, I cried. It was so good. It's on Kindle Unlimited and it's less than 300 pages, but a stunning book in my opinion.
Nice. I've seen that around not TikTok or Instagram, mostly YouTube actually, for some of the girls that I follow on there. But it's got a really pretty cover too.
Yes. And it's like, I feel like it's pretty old. like, it was written in like 2014 or something like that, I think. And so I feel like it's resurfacing recently because I've seen it a lot of places. And yeah, it is really, really good.
I'm glad you liked it. Mine is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. A little bit different in vibe. Outlander, for those of you who have not heard of it, or maybe haven't heard of the TV show, which is based on the book. Books, plural. There's I think there's 9 out of the main novels right now, and then the 10th one's supposed to be out in 2027 or 28.
Which is crazy.
This is just the first one. This was a reread for me. I read it initially back in 22, 23, and I don't mean that's an estimate. I mean, it literally took me from 2022 to 2023 to read it. But I listened. I did a tandem read this time with the audio and the physical, and I feel like that really enhanced the experience for me. It's a very long book. It's 300,000 words over that, which, for reference, Kingdom of Ash is about 270,000. So it's even longer than that.
Crazy.
Which, yeah. And you wouldn't think that because it's 600 pages or something, but the font's
so
yay big.
Small.
And I really liked it. I feel like having the context that I do now on the reread made me pick up a lot more and get really excited to keep going with the series, because the first time I read it, I feel like I just lost steam by the end and needed a break, and so I didn't go into the second one immediately and then just haven't picked it up, and it's been 2 years. So almost 3 years. So I'm very excited to keep going with that. I have not seen the show or anything, but I am a frequent traveler to Scotland, so the vibes are just immaculate. But I would say really look up your trigger warnings if you're the type of person who needs them. Have you started Outlander, right?
I haven't started it, but you bought it for me for Christmas, so it's actually right here next to me.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's a lot. So it's basically I've
heard all about it, and my mom's watched the show, so
Yeah, I will say, I think because Stars is Stars, they made the show a lot more sexual than the book is.
Typical.
But I think Diana Gabaldon's a fantastic writer, and she came out with a whole book about how she likes to write, and she's very much a proponent of in emotional scenes you describe what's happening and trust your audience to be smart enough to fill things in. And I feel like it creates a really visceral, raw experience for things. Our character, essentially the FMC, is a World War II nurse who gets transported back in time to the 1750s before the Jacobite rebellion, and so she has all of this knowledge, but she's trying to keep it on the DL that she's from the future, because there's regularly witches getting burned at the stake and stuff, and so she can't be hey,
I know everything that's gonna happen.
And she keeps accidentally being oh, you have, XYZ disease, we can cure it with this. And then they're what is that? And she's right, you guys don't have penicillin. And so it's anyway, she ends up getting married. It's a marriage of convenience situation. But the guy's one of my favorite book boyfriends. And a lot happens, but there's a lot of sexual assault, people getting burned, lots of death, lots of violence, and it's not, I think, any more than you would expect there to be in the middle of the Scottish Highlands in the 1740s, but it does, I feel take a violent turn at times for a book that you expect to be very character heavy. So
yeah, on that note, I will also say same thing for Lulu's Cafe. Just only the first 80 pages for that is really where domestic violence and abuse is depicted, but after that, you're good. But the first 80 pages, there's a lot obviously talks about her life. So I forgot to mention that. Way to
and
go,
it
buddy.
sounds like they're both very much upswinging books, so they end at a better place than they start.
Beautiful places.
So let's jump into the meat of our bracket today.
The meat?
I was going to say the meat of our episode, so I guess just our bracket, generally. So basically, we each came up with a list of 8 books. And we're not going to tell you who picked what books, but I'm sure it'll be obvious in some places.
I feel are overlapping.
Yeah, for sure.
That we both are excited about.
And so the idea is that we'll each pick the winner out of each pairing. So we'll go from 16 down to what would that be? The quarterfinals down to 8, semifinals down to 4. So that's not right. Finals down to 2, and then championship, which is our ultimate, most anticipated release. I made it work. And I don't think that we'll end up with the same one, but
probably not. It'd be exciting to see, though.
And we are working off of the same book. So do you think we should tell them all the books now, or just they can find out as we go through our first
I think they can
round?
Just find out.
Cool. Okay. Do you want to start? Oh, and as of when we're filming this, these are all upcoming releases, but I realize once they're out, we will have this first round of ones that have already been released, but it is what it is.
It's our episode. We can do what we want.
Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so our first two for round one is And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison, which is the second book of the Heartstrings. I don't know if it's going to be a duet or a series, but
I thought duet, but I don't think that I
duet.
based that on actual knowledge, so.
But it's the sequel to First Time Caller. And then Beneath, which is by
Ariel Sullivan.
Ariel Sullivan. I was like, we just talked about her a couple episodes ago, so I knew she was there. Which is the prequel to Conform, right?
Yeah, it's the second book that's being released in that series, but it takes place earlier. So,
Yes. So,
between them, go for it.
for me, And Now Back to You is going to win because I love First Time Caller. I think it may be my favorite B.K. Borison book, and I'm really excited for, I think his name is Jackson, maybe? The MMC?
I listened
Something
to
like
that one, and I feel like I didn't really retain much. I liked the story, but I couldn't tell you.
But it's the meteorologist, so whatever his name is, this is his story, and I'm really excited for it.
Between these two, so I also really liked First Time Caller. I don't think I liked it as much as Bree did. I'm still excited for it, but having already, this is like cheating for me a little bit, but because I've already read Beneath, I feel like that is one that I'm extremely excited about. It's releasing, the day that this episode came out, so you should head on over to a bookstore and snap that right on up. Our next pairing is Rights of the Starling by Daphne Perry. This is the second book in the, I don't know what the series is called.
I think it's just called Shield of Sparrows.
Okay, yeah, so this is a
Maybe
sequel
not.
to Shield of Sparrows. That is released April 7th. Also released on April 7th is The Paris Match by Kate Claiborne. She was the author of Georgie All Along and something about the disappearing.
Of Kate, maybe? No?
I don't remember. I can, vividly picture.
It's like the red cover
cover.
with the girl's head, right?
Yeah,
I never read that one, but I read Georgie All Along. Really liked it.
I'm reverse, so that's embarrassing. For me, I think I'm more excited for Rights of the Starling. I'm excited for The Paris Match. I think Kate Claiborne's an excellent author, but I didn't love that book that we can't remember the title of. I should just look it up. The Other Side of Disappearing.
That's what it is.
I
Kate's the
didn't.
name.
Yes, I
The
didn't
disappearance
love.
of Kate?
I didn't love The Other Side of Disappearing. I thought it was okay, but I thought her writing was really good, so it wasn't like the writing that I didn't like. But out of those, Rights of the Starling for me.
Yeah, for me too, definitely 100%. I mean, Shield of Sparrows was like one of my top books last year. I love Daphne Perry. I cannot wait for this book. I'm so excited. Okay, the next two are Release Me by Tahira Terry. Can't ever say her name right. Mafi. She's amazing, even though I cannot pronounce names. Don't judge me on that. That comes out April 7th. And Fury Bound, which comes out May 5th, which is by Sable Sorensen. Release Me is the sequel to Watch Me, which is the spin-off series of... I was like, did I say the name right? Watch Me, which is the spin-off of the Shatter Me series, and Fury Bound is the sequel to Dire Bound. These are two of my personal, most anticipated releases.
When I was writing this up, I was like, this is going to be the one that breaks Bree.
Yeah, but I honestly think I'm gonna go with Release Me.
Okay.
Because I love it, and we get Aaron Warner's point of view in it, which just, knocks it out of the park for me. I cannot wait to have his point of view again in my life.
I'm also going to go with Release Me, but this is more... I haven't read either of the first two books that you mentioned yet, but I have read all of Shatter Me, which is one of my favorite series, so I think I have to go with Release Me, but I might feel differently if I had the context of Dire Bound.
Yes.
That is on my TBR, so I will be reading that this year.
Yes. Dire Bound was a 5-star read for me. I loved it. But I think Aaron Warner is just going to edge out most people for me.
Next up, we've got Our Perfect Storm. This is by Carly Fortune. This is going to be released on May 5th. Pitted against Broken Dove, which is the sequel to Silver Elite by Danny Francis, and that's coming out May 12th. I have a hard time with this because I am excited for Our Perfect Storm, but I think Carly Fortune is a very hit or miss for me. I feel like I either really love her books or I could care less. And I think I've read only her first two. So I feel like I can't even definitively say I've read a ton of her books. I feel like a lot of people are having a better reaction to her most recent book that was about Charlie than they're having had for a lot of other ones. So I don't know. I still am going to buy this book because I love the cover so much. Her covers are arguably the best part of her books. So I think I'm going to go with Broken Dove, even though I still haven't read Silver Elite yet. But that's another one, similar to Dire Bound, that's on not only are they on my TBR, but they're on my like 26 and 2026 list, which I am very much committed to finishing, so I will get there.
I'm hands down Broken Dove. I love Silver Elite. It again was in my top 10 last year. I gave it 5 stars. I cannot wait for Broken Dove. Just like you, Carly Fortune is very hit or miss for me. I hated Every Summer After, which I know is a very unpopular opinion. But no, I cannot get over that. I still haven't forgiven Charlie from that book for being a terrible brother. And I don't want to read a book about him, which is why I refuse to read One Golden Summer. Everyone's like, Charlie's so great. No, he's a terrible brother. And I will stand on that hill. And no. Forgiveness is for the birds, for Charlie Florrick. Not even sorry. But I did love This Summer Will Be Different. I loved that book. I gave it 4 stars, I think.
And that's one I haven't read yet.
Yeah, but I mean, Broken Dove will win for me out of that any time of the day. Okay, so the next round is The Ballad of Falling Dragons, which is by Sarah Parker. This comes out on May 19th. It is the sequel to When the Moon Hatched, which this is a long time coming. Like,
oh my goodness, yes.
I feel like I definitely need to reread When the Moon Hatched because that book was so intense, and this sequel has taken a long time to get out, which makes sense because if you've read When the Moon Hatched, you remember just how intense and unique the world building was. A lot of information. So I bet writing that sequel was really hard because of all of that. It's just really different, I feel like. Anyway, and the next book is Fever Dream by Elsie Silver, which comes out May 19th. This is the first book in Elsie Silver's newest series, and it is involving the sister of one of my all-time favorite characters, Thea Silva, and his rival. I'm so excited. I think this is another one that's really hard for me because I loved When the Moon Hatched. I gave it 5 stars, but it's been so long that I feel like my excitement for Ballad of Falling Dragons has kind of fallen down. And like I said, Fever Dream, like, Theo Silva is the love of my life, one of my all-time favorite characters. And so, like, reading about his sister and having him cameo in any capacity makes me really excited. So I think I might go with Fever Dream for this one, personally.
You were going to pick The Ballad of Falling Dragons because you tend to not have a great experience with the first book in each of Elsie Silver's series.
Yes. I'm really nervous about that because of that. I'll just say, like, every single first book in the Elsie Silver's universe have always been, like, 3.5 for me. Like, something about them just don't work. And her last series as a whole, I did not love as much as the Chestnut Springer Gold Rush. But I'm hoping the magic of Theo Silva will just bleed into this book, and we'll see. I have high hopes only because it is closely connected to Theo Silva. If he wasn't there, I probably would have gone with Ballad of Falling Dragon. And he may play a very small part, but I don't care. Like, I love him so much.
I'm going to pick The Ballad of Falling Dragons for this one. When the Moon Hatched was in one of my top 10 books. I think that was of 2024. And like Bree said, like, this has been a long time coming. I think we've had like 6 different release dates for this book at this point. It was originally supposed to come out in October of 2025, and it's now been pushed back a number of times. And it was like January, then February, now it's May officially. But yes, I think this is one of the romanticities that is really, really, really verging on being epic fantasy because of the level of world building. And I think the care and thought that Sarah A. Parker puts into the world really shows through with the way that she's able to, I think, use elements of it to inform the romance. And I think her take on dragons is really unique as well. I think in like a world of fourth wings, like, be a Sarah A. Parker. Just because I feel like your options when you have mythical creatures are either to make them like secretly really lovable or to be like, they're extremely terrifying. And I feel like she bridges that gap really well of being like, they're very dangerous creatures, but like they have a huge role to play and like can, I don't know, interact with like the characters and stuff as their own beings without having like, we can hear their voices in our heads, which I feel like, no shade if you like that. It just feels a little bit more juvenile compared to what Sarah A. Parker's doing. So I'm very excited for that one.
It's some of the best and like most intensive, unique world building that I have read in a newer fantasy book. Like, it is so very similar to how like J.R.R. Tolkien like wrote his own language for his world, you know? Like, that's kind of like, she didn't write her own language fully, but it's the same kind of idea. Like, she literally started from the ground up and put so much care into the world and the setting and the people and the culture and time, space, like everything. It's so informative and just mind-blowing in my opinion.
I was going to say, there's multiple maps, there's a glossary, there's a whole like prologue that gives you information on like the mythological system like within the world. Like, I think she's done a really great job with that. And from what other people have said, her other series is not that same way, so you can tell it's something she's like developing specifically for this series, which I appreciate. Okay, our next matchup is The Shippers, which is by Catherine Center. This comes out May 19th as well. Lots of May 19th releases. And then we've got Into the Fading Twilight, which is out on July 7th. This is by Catherine Cowles. And of these two, I'm going with The Shippers, only because I'm a big Catherine Center fan. I'm sure I will one day also be a Catherine Cowles fan. But out of the Catherines, for me, we're going with The Shippers.
Yes, for me, Into the Fading Twilight, hands down. I just finished my arc of Across the Vanishing Sky. I actually had 24 hours to read it because I got the day before my Lent challenge started, and I literally binged the heck out of it. In my opinion, it's her best book yet. And I can't tell you the couple for Into the Fading Twilight yet because the couple is spoiled by, or if I tell you the couple, it'll spoil a big plot point in Across the Vanishing Sky. But it is so good, and the couple, I am frothing at the mouth for them. Like, I just know both of these characters are going to be so good. When I found out that it was going to be them, I literally threw my book. I was so excited. I cannot wait for more of the series and more of the Archer brothers as a whole. So good. Okay, our next matchup is the Romance Revival by Christina Lauren, which comes out on July 14th. And The Knave and the Moon, which comes out on September 1st by Rachel Gillig, which is the sequel to The Night and the Moth. And this is really, I mean, it's not too hard for me, but it's a little difficult because I love Christina Lauren books. And it's been a while since we had a new one, I feel like. What was the last new one? The Paradise Problem?
Yeah, which was 24, I think. So
yeah, so it's been at least a year.
And they were doing like one or two a year for a long time there.
So I'm really excited for the Romance Revival, but The Knave and the Moon is going to win out for me. The Night and the Moth was like my third favorite book last year. I absolutely loved it. I love Rachel Gillig's writing. I cannot wait for how this story is going to like wrap up.
I was going to say high praise for you too, because The Night and the Moth was definitely your favorite romantasy of the year, since I think only Red Rising books beat it out for the top book.
100%.
Of these, I'm also going The Knave and the Moon. I did not like The Night and the Moth as much as Bree did. I still gave it 5 stars though, so I'm excited for book 2. We also left off on like a mother of a cliffhanger, so I think it'll be exciting both to like revisit the characters, but also the plot is really revving up, so I think it'll be a very good book. And it's just a duology for sure, so it'll be nice to have closure on that as well. Okay, so our final, I don't remember what I called these, qualifiers? Round?
I think I've been saying round.
Oh yeah, so the last matchup of this round is The Wretched Divine by Adeline Grace. This comes out September 22nd, and I believe it's her adult romantasy debut.
That sounds about right.
And that's against Daggermouth, which comes out September 29th. This is originally an indie published dystopian romance. I've had probably 6 different people tell me that I need to read this because it also involves a love triangle, and it's being traditionally published September 29th. Who is this by? It's H.M. Wolf. Did she write something else? That sounds familiar. She's not the one that wrote the like wolf.ebook, is she?
No, that's Pays. Maybe it is, actually.
It'd be kind of stupid for her to write a book with, like, her last name as the title. Oh, no. I don't remember.
No, that's Paisley Hope. I was right.
Yeah. And Daggermouth releases on September 29th by author H.M. Wolf. I think between the two of these, I think I'm going to go with Daggermouth, just because I know if it has a love triangle, I will likely enjoy it. And I feel like I've gotten good recs from people who know my taste pretty well. But kind of same thing that we've talked about a couple of different times throughout this. I love Adeline Grace. I love her writing. I think she's going to knock it out of the park with The Wretched Divine. And I know she's been working on it for a long time, because I was at a book event that she was at. Where was that? Well, that was in San Diego for Rebel Witch when that came out. She was hosting it. And she was talking about how this has been, like, the hardest book that she's ever done because it's the first one that she came up with the idea for it after she was already a published author, getting a lot of, like, attention, and so she felt, like, a crazy amount of pressure. But, yeah, I'm excited for that one, too, but I would go with Daggermouth.
I really don't know anything about either of these, to be honest. But I think I'm going to go with The Wretched Divine because I love Belladonna, I like Adeline Grace's writing style, and, yeah, I think she wins out for me here.
Very nice. All right, so that is our first round. We are now narrowed down to 8 books each, which I think we'll just announce our own pairing since they'll be different, and then say what it is. Another note, which Bree's going to tell you about.
Yeah, basically, Red God by Pierce Brown is supposed to come out sometime this year, but we don't have a date yet. So, not that I'm upset about it or anything. If we had a date for that, I'm going to tell you right now, it would win the entire bracket for me. It is my most anticipated release ever. Like, it's probably above ACOTAR 6 for me right now. That's saying something. Like, that's how much I need Red God in my hands. So, I'm mentioning it because it would win if we had the release date. And supposedly it's coming in 2026, but that's all we know.
Yeah. I am still not caught up on Red Rising because I've still only read the original trilogy, but I think Michael and I are starting Iron Gold tonight. And same thing, I do actually very much respect that Pierce Brown is not giving us a release date and then being like, never mind,
Yes,
I need more
do like
time.
that.
But I would like it to come out in 2026. Lightbringer came out in 2023, so it's been quite a few years.
Been a hot minute.
I need Pierce Brown to not turn it into a George R. R. Martin situation because that haunts me.
I will say, I can't imagine if I had read Lightbringer in 2023 and had to deal with the ending up until like 3 years later. I would be deceased. I would no longer be alive. Like, it is a mother, in your words, of a cliffhanger, and I can't imagine. Like, I've been waiting 2 weeks, and that's too long. I can't imagine having been waiting 3 years.
I think that might actually change your would you rather answer when you said you'd rather just read current releases as opposed to new ones.
Yes, that would change it.
Would it really?
I don't know if I could never read the ending of this. That would be really hard.
All right, you ready to jump in?
Yes. Do you want me to do my first round first? I just knocked over a stack of books.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so my first round is And Now Back to You and Rights of the Starling. And although I'm really excited about And Now Back to You, like, Rights of the Starling is gonna win. Like, I cannot wait to get my hands on that book.
I'm excited for you. My first matchup is Beneath versus Rights of the Starling. And is it Right of the Starling or Rights of the Starling?
I think it's Rights.
Rights? Okay, that's what I was saying, but I
With an S.
second guessing myself. I think between the two of these, again, I'm biased since I've already read it, but Beneath would be the one that I'm most excited for. And I think that would be the case even if I hadn't read Beneath already, honestly. So maybe I'll just go into it with that frame of reference.
My second round is Release Me versus Broken Dove. And I'm gonna go Release Me. Like, can't wait for that book. Hands down.
Fair. That is also my matchup. Release Me versus Broken Dove. I, likewise, I'm going to stick with Release Me.
Okay, my next round is Fever Dream by Elsie Silver versus Into the Fading Twilight by Catherine Cowles, and I'm gonna go Into the Fading Twilight.
Okay. Mine is The Ballad of Falling Dragons versus The Shippers, and I'm going with The Ballad of Falling Dragons.
And my final round for this round, my final matchup for this round, yeah, that's better. My final matchup for this round
You're doing great, sweetie.
is The Knave and the Moon versus The Wretched Divine, and I'm gonna go The Knave and the Moon.
My final matchup is also The Knave and the Moon against Daggermouth, and I think I'm gonna go with Daggermouth.
Okay, so now we're going to our third round, right? Yeah.
Yep, down to 2 on this one.
Okay, this is gonna get harder. This is really hard, this first one. My first one is Rights of the Starling versus Release Me.
Ooh.
I don't know. That's really hard.
You
Both
said,
of- Both Watch Me and Shield of Sparrows were 5 stars in my top 10 last year. Like, I binged Watch Me in one day, and I got the arc of Shield of Sparrows, and I read it in 2 days.
And that's a much longer book, so that's
Yeah.
saying a lot.
I think I'm gonna go with Rights of the Starling,
Wow!
but it's very, very close.
My first matchup in this round is Beneath versus Me, and I think this one's hard for me too because it's like I love Shatter Me, but I haven't read Watch Me, so I feel like my anticipation is not at like max volume for it. I'm gonna go with Beneath.
Okay, my final matchup? Yeah, final matchup for this round. I did the same thing again. Final matchup for this round is Into the Fading Twilight versus The Knave and the Moon, which is also really hard, but I think I'm gonna go with The Knave and the Moon.
Okay.
Because Into the Fading Twilight, I feel like is gonna be one of my top books of the year, and I cannot wait for it. But Across the Vanishing Sky didn't end on a cliffhanger. It just, like, ended on a, like, here's the next couple, you don't know what's gonna happen with them, and so I'm, like, satisfied as far as, like,
Gotcha.
where that is at, whereas like The Night and the Moth, the cliffhanger just broke me, and I need the resolution yesterday.
Okay. My next matchup is the Ballad of Falling Dragons versus Daggermouth. And I think I'm going Ballad of Falling Dragons just because this is something about, I'm just such a big series person, and I feel like you're naturally going to be more excited for something if it's a sequel as opposed to if it's just like a book that's out, because I don't have the same frame of reference for it. So the Ballad of Falling Dragons. And now we all have our final two, our last matchup.
We're to the championship.
Woo!
Okay, so my championship round is Rights of the Starling versus the Knave and the Moon, and I'm going with the Knave and the Moon. I was like, because both of those I feel like are going to be top books of the year. I can't wait for them. But the cliffhanger in Shield of Sparrows was really intense too, in my opinion. But I feel like the one in Night and the Moth hit me harder.
Okay.
Mostly just because of Bartholomew. I feel like he wrecked me.
Also, I think Daphne Perry did a great job with Shield of Sparrows feeling like unique and different, but I think Rachel Gillig has such a gift for writing gothic fantasy that the atmosphere is just on another level compared to like any other romantasy besides her own that you could come up with.
They're both romantasy fantasy books, but like you said, like her writing is just so different. It sets it apart. And Daphne Perry, like, world building as far as like the monsters and everything felt really unique and really fun to me, but I felt like the lore of The Night and the Moth was just so much broader, and I feel like the romance was a little more at the forefront of Shield of Sparrows as far as like the tension and the building of their romance across the book for me, versus The Night and the Moth was much more plot based and lore based. So I was like, that's why that's gonna edge out just a little bit for me.
Yeah, and I think too, like, and this is not a knock on Daphne Perry at all, but I do think Shield of Sparrows generally felt a little bit more like trope-based than The Night and the Moth. Again, not in a bad way, but I think she relies on a lot of like kind of pillars of romantasy as a genre, whereas Rachel Gillig, I think, is like all of her stories are a lot more rooted in the atmosphere and like the world that she creates, so it's just a different... They both do exceptionally well, but at like slightly different things. My championship round is Beneath versus the Ballad of Falling Dragons, and I think this is where I feel like I'm not being fair because I've read Beneath already, so I'm gonna go with the Ballad of Falling Dragons, because I think as far as like, for me, my the anticipated release I'm most excited for has to be that one, because I have already anticipated the release of Beneath.
The anticipation is gone for Beneath.
And I think it's hard for me because in the sense that like yours are the same genre and you like both of the authors and like all of that, I feel like these are both so different. The whole When the Moon Hatched universe, I feel like, is just so like complex and something to like sink into, versus like Beneath, Conform, that whole series is not fantasy, it's dystopian, and it's very fast paced and not immersive in the way that When the Moon Hatched is, but like gripping, for lack of a better word. And so I feel like they're just doing extremely different things. So I'll go with The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker.
I feel like I was expecting that.
It's hard also, I think, for like the first book in this isn't the first book in the universe, but Beneath was the first book in a trilogy. And so kind of like we talked about, like I feel like there's just not the same level of like, I need this right now, because you don't have any context in the same way that you do for a sequel. But I really loved When the Moon Hatched.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of my top books too, but it was higher for you than it was for me, I think.
I want to say that was like probably my 5th or 6th book of the year
up there.
that I read it. I remember it was right behind Outlander, which is funny. But I do think I'm going to have to reread it before the sequel comes out.
I 100% have to. I remember very little. Like, I remember big details, but...
There's so much in there that big details are not all that's relevant.
Yeah. I've read a lot of books since then.
Cool.
And if I'm forgetting things, I know you.
Yeah, no, between the two of us, I feel like I'm bigger on rereading before new books come out than you are regardless, probably because of the memory thing.
I typically remember a lot, but this has been a long time, so... Like, The Night and the Moth, I probably won't reread that. I remember most of it. I didn't reread Quicksilver before Brimstone came out. Like, if it's within a year, I feel like I'm pretty good. Wait, I did reread Quicksilver. I'm a liar. But that was just because I wanted to, not because I needed to.
I was going to say, that's the other thing about this one, is like, it's not going to be a chore to reread. In fact, I think it'll be better on the reread than it was the first time, because you know what you're working towards. And
Yes.
like half the book, our FMC has like amnesia. So being able to read through that, knowing what
Where you're
happens
going.
after that is over. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us for the bracket. We ended up with The Ballad of Falling Dragons and Knave and the Moon. 2 romantasy sequels. So, see, we took very different routes to get here, but we ended in the same genre.
But I feel like I was expecting both of these results, like I said.
Yeah,
Based on
agree.
who we
I
are
thought there
readers.
was a good chance you would end up with Release Me, honestly.
It was really hard. I feel like those 3 are my top 3 most anticipated. In fact, I did a booktube video and I'm pretty sure I said that Knave and the Moon, Rights of the Starling, and Release Me are like my most anticipated reads. Also, Terry Moffey has another sequel. I don't think she's released the title yet, but it's for the This Woven Kingdom series, which is behind me somewhere on my shelf.
You really like that.
Yes, and so Release Me comes out in the spring, and then that one comes out in the fall, and so both of those
She
are
is
high up there.
booked and busy.
Be getting it done, and they're all that good. But that one doesn't have a title yet or a cover, so I think I think last year she released the title and cover for every Spiral of Fate, like right before or after the release of Watch Me. So she's been doing like one in each of the series, like back and forth. So that's
good.
also up
Keeps
there for me.
momentum up. Cool. So to close out, we're going to be playing Bang, Marry, Kill with our top 3. So I think maybe we can just like pick our top 3 from the round where we had 4 picks. Does that work?
Yep. Mine are what I just said.
Okay. Mine are going to be Beneath, Release Me, and The Ballad of Falling Dragons. I'll leave Dagger Mouth off.
Okay, well, Bang, Marry, Kill, Beneath, Release Me, and The Ballad of Falling Dragons.
I think I'm going to marry Beneath, bang Ballad of Falling Dragons, and kill Release Me. I'm not super thrilled with any of those. I feel like I'm marrying Beneath because I like already know it and I know I love it. Whereas like you're still taking a chance on a book you haven't read yet. So I'd go with Ballad of Falling Dragons for that. And Release Me is kind of like we talked about, just at the bottom because I haven't read Watch Me yet, so I feel like I don't have the same level of like, ooh, excitement that I did like if it were like a direct sequel of the Shatter Me series versus like now it's in a new series just in the same universe. Yeah. Okay. How about you?
Okay, so my top 3 are Knave and the Moon, Rights of the Starling, and Release Me. And my Bang, Marry, Kill is not going to make any sense to anyone but me, and that's okay, because it's for me. Because I'm going to marry Release Me, because it has Aaron Warner in it, and that means I get to marry him, and I can't imagine killing him. Even though it's the book, doesn't matter. It's going to be married, solely because of him. He is everything. And then I'm going to bang the Knave and the Moon. And I'm going to kill Rights of the Starling, which I don't really like, but
I feel like
that's
I
where
would
we're at.
have banged Rights of the Starling. I feel like Knave and the Moon's gonna be too like gloomy to like have a fun time with, you know?
I know, but I kind of like Rory's gloominess. Like, it kind of works for me. Although, The Guardian is the same way, but different. I feel like I need a little bit more from The Guardian before I put him, like...
I think the Guardian's much more of a simp for Odessa already. Not that Rory isn't for Sybil, but
I feel like we got a good amount of Rory's, like, emotional development, even though it was, like, a lesser plot point, like, it was still there, whereas The Guardian, like, obviously I knew he was obsessed, but it wasn't shown as much. Like, I just inferred it because I can. So, I feel like he has a lot of growth potential, and not that Rory doesn't, but we've already seen a lot of his, in my opinion, so I feel like the second book for Shield of Sparrows, Rights of the Starling, will be a lot of individual growth as well as romantic growth, whereas The Knave and the Moon, I feel like that's definitely going to take a backseat to everything that's happening.
that's fair. Yeah, because the Guardian was like busy in Shield of
Get stuff
Sparrows.
done.
And for most of it, you're not even 100% sure if he's going to be Endgame. So cool. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. I was really excited about doing this episode just because I think it's fun to kind of get a good look at what's coming up. I feel like readers are so lucky in the sense that there's always so much to look forward to in a way that kind of a lot of other hobbies don't have. Like, I feel like even TV shows and movies, which would be maybe games, like the easiest thing to relate it to, like have much longer time frames in between when they're like announced. Whereas We usually get new books. Well, we definitely get new books every month, depending on whether or not you want to read them. It's your own business, but...
Hannah also really wanted to do this episode because she loves causing me pain by making me pick favorites. My least favorite thing in the whole world.
I just think it's fun. And I think it's like... kind of same thing we talked about with the top 10. I feel like it's working through what actually makes a book great for you and what, like, as compared with everything else, distinguishes, like, one series from another. And I think it's fun to tease out and talk about. Every single book that we mentioned this episode, I think we're going to read eventually, and we're all excited about. Do with that what you will. We would love to hear, if you did this bracket with us, what your most anticipated release is, either of our picks or of your own picks. If you want to go that way, let us know. It should be on our, I was going to say lookouts. What should be on our radars?
Our lookouts. And just another reminder that Red God would win for me. No matter what. If it was out, it would be the top.
I think probably me as well, but I feel like because I'm not quite caught up, I can't fully say that yet.
Just you wait. Well, thank you for listening in, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Hey, I got to close this time.
Look at you.
That's it for today's episode of Chapter Chats. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Chapter Chats Pod.
And you can find me, Bree, at Brazen and Bookish on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
And you can find me, Hannah, at Bookshelvish on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Substack.
Or you can email us at chapterchatspod@gmail.com with book recommendations, episode ideas, or just to say hi.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, follow, and subscribe on your favorite platform.
Catch you next chapter.